Okay, so the first thing I want to remind you about the dates. So remember, standard time students must take the online test. Accommodation students may take either online or paper. And the window for online is March 8th through the 17th. And just a reminder, the online testing only occurs on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Those are the only days in which you can give an online test. The paper test for accommodations is going to be March 8th through the 18th, and the 18th is a Friday. And then the makeup windows are here as well. So March 22nd through the 31st. So just a reminder, for online, you are only allowed to give the online test on a Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Those are the only days in which those are available. The paper-based testing can occur March 22nd through April 1st. So there's a Monday in here and a Friday in here for accommodations. All right, so any questions about the dates?
I'm sorry.
Just make sure you're aware of the dates
How much was it?
and make sure you plan accordingly.
Okay, all right.
All right, now number 2. So at this point, you should all be collecting accommodations and begin uploading those into TAA. Is there any questions on that before I continue? All right, so just a reminder, you have the deadline is January 7th. You have 9 weeks before the deadline. You have 6 weeks before you leave for Christmas break. So when you get back from Christmas break, there's only 1 week to do this. So hopefully you have begun collecting those accommodations that you need for those juniors and the seniors who are going to take the ACT test. Alright, so just a reminder, failure to do this will result in students who need accommodations not receiving accommodations for the ACT test. And don't wait until the last minute to do this. You should be collecting and uploading documents as you get them. It does take 3 to 5 days for ACT to give you a decision notification. And if you want reconsideration for partially approved or not approved accommodations, you will need to upload more documentation. Make sure you're looking at the TAA user guide, and there is a Q&A session that ACT is hosting on November 17th about accommodations and supports, and that's going to be at 10 a.m. and here's the link. I'll send you the agenda after the meeting, but here's the link for that Q&A session that you can register. So if you were to click on this, click on it. If you click on it, it'll send you to this right here. So just make sure you're attending this, especially if you never gave this before. Cindy, you had a question? What's your question? Okay, well, and that's a good question. So let's talk about juniors. So all juniors have to take the ACT test, and so any junior that has accommodations, you're going to have to upload those into TAA. Let's talk about seniors. Almost all of your seniors, not all of them, almost all of your seniors took the ACT test last year as a junior. They should already have accommodations in TAA. So all you have to do, and we'll talk about that at another meeting, all you have to do is go to TAA and change the date, the testing date. The problem with your school is that a lot of your students will not be in TAA for you. So you're going to have to call ACT and tell them which students you would need, which seniors you would need to be moved from a previous school to your school. Because No, there might be some others that may benefit from this. No, okay, so we're, if they came from out of state, you are going to have to upload them into TAA. Because the Louisiana accommodations may be different than accommodations in other states. So just go ahead and redo it, get those accommodations in, and upload them. Now, it saves you time. It does save you time if a student already has an accommodations approved, just to call ACT and have them moved over. But if you have a student that you're not sure, just go ahead, collect the documents, and upload them. Let's see, Michael says if they were approved by ACT previously, they should have a decision notification letter from ACT with this approval accommodations. That's correct, Michael. What she's saying, though, now you gotta remember, virtual school, those are whole new students. So those accommodations, she won't have access to those notifications. So Cindy, what you're gonna have to do is this, and that's true for anyone else. If you have a student that comes to your school from another school within the district, you're going to have to contact the ACT coordinator at that other school. For example, if you have a student coming from Liberty, you got to contact Miss Thani. If you have a school that is coming from, let's say, Bel Air, you're going to have to contact CARE to look for that TAA PIN number. So you're going to take that TAA PIN number that they're going to give you, and you're going to have to call ACT and have those accommodations transferred to your TAA portal. And Michael said that families can provide those accommodations, those approved accommodations, but just make sure you're talking with your 504 coordinator, your ESS coordinator, get all those accommodations. I'd be careful with getting it from parents. It's got to just work with school personnel. All right, Cindy, did I answer your question? Cindy? So then let's go a little further down. I asked you in task 4 to assign the dates, and I'm assuming at this point that all of you on this call did so. And in fact, anyone that, even those that are not on this call, did so. Did anyone not do this yet? All of you went into PA Next and you did the dates. Is that correct? All right, thank you. Anyone else? Zaviola, I gave. Who said that? Okay, April, please do that today. The deadline is December 3rd, and things are going to come up. You're going to forget about it, and there might be some issues if you don't do it. I gave you all the dates to put in there, so make sure you're using those dates. Okay, so let's talk about the number 3, discussion about when LDOE will upload all juniors and those seniors out an ACT score. And more on this we discussed in our January meeting. But they're going to upload those according to what I was told yesterday. They're going to upload those the first week of January. Keep in mind that once they upload all the juniors and those seniors without an ACT score, you have very little time to go in and verify that the roster that was uploaded is correct. If there is a junior at your school that is not uploaded, you will need to do an enroll request to add the student, and we'll talk more about that in January when they upload it. If there is a senior that you verified does not have an ACT score, you will have to do an enroll request as well. Alright, so we're gonna do more with this in January, because that's when the state's gonna have ACT upload all the juniors and those seniors without an ACT score. Alright, number 4. What happens if a student comes to your school after January 7th and has accommodations? Alright, so if the student comes from an EBR school, you will need to contact the coordinator of the school and get the student's TAA PIN number. You will then need to contact ACT and have them transfer the documentation to your TAA account. If the student came from another school outside the district, contact ACT Accommodations to determine if the school uploaded any accommodations for that student. If they did, there's going to be a TAA PIN number for that student, and then they'll just transfer the information to your school's TAA. If the school did not upload any accommodations for that student in TAA, the student will have to take the standard time test. Alright, let me repeat that. If the school did not upload any accommodations for that student in TAA before that January 7th deadline, the student will have to take the standard time test. You will need to notify the parents of this. You can try to upload the accommodation, see if ACT will accept this after the deadline of January 7th, but there were some of you last year that said ACT did not accept those. There is also a national testing the student can take advantage of, in which you will then have time to upload the student's accommodations. Provide the student with an ACT waiver if the student qualifies. Alright, so any questions on number 4? And we'll talk more about that in some other meetings as well. But there's a lot there that I stated. Any questions? Did any of you last year, and Baton Rouge High and Liberty would not be in this situation, but did any of you last year have students transfer after the deadline to upload documentation in which there was a student that had to take the test standard time? I think Mary had one. Is Mary in this call? Let's see if Mary's on this call. Okay. Well, good to know. You called ACT? No, but you did what you had to do. Mary said that she called and they wouldn't do it. Brian, were you going to say something? Okay. All right. So then Cindy and April and Rhea, if you get in that situation after January 7th, then do what Michael and Brian did. In Michael's case, he called them and said, look, this is a situation. It's no fault of the student. And then they'll probably work with you on that. Okay. Before we go on, did all of you do the sign-in sheet? I'm going to go ahead and put that in chat again. I really need you all to do that. Alright, thank you. She says, I had an EL student, but she didn't test. You had an EL student that did not have accommodations after the deadline, Mary? Does she have a mic? Oh, great. Alright. Okay. Yeah, and Michael, and a good point, Michael said this, and those of you that are new, Cindy and Dr. Dixon, April, and Rhea, when you call ACT, it could take forever, but you got to keep trying. Alright. Okay. Now, number 5. So Michael emailed me earlier this week to see about importing students already. At the time, none of you had the importer role. So in order to do that SDU file, you have to do the importer role. So yesterday I called ACT, and the lady was nice. She actually did it for me because I couldn't do it. I didn't have the ability to do it. She actually went through each of you, if you were the coordinator, not the backup, the coordinator, and gave you the importer role. The importer role allows you to upload the SDU file. And so let's talk about the SDU file. So this was assigned, the importer role was assigned to the test coordinator. You can now begin, I believe. I think you can. Michael, you wanted to do this, so see if you can do this sometime today or tomorrow. You can now begin to add those seniors who have an ACT score to PA Next using the SDU file. Now, I don't have this listed here, so let me say this again. Let me say this. Do not do the SDU file for any juniors. Why not? Anyone? Why will you not do this for juniors? That's correct. The LDOE will do this. We'll have the state do this, ACT do this rather, the first week in January. The same thing for seniors without an ACT score. So the state's going to do this the first week of January. But any other senior that has an ACT score that you're going to retest ACT, then you need to do the SDU file. And you have, and we'll go over the timeline. I don't have that here, but you have, I think it's around January 21st to do that. So you have up until January 21st to do this SDU file. So you have still some time, and you're only going to do it for those students, for those seniors who don't have an ACT score. Saviola, you have a question? Yes. When LDOE uploads the SDU file or has ACT uploaded, they get the information up until somewhere around October. So if the student takes the test after October, they will still be on that. They will still be uploaded. But let me just say this, and Michael does this quite often, and I'm sorry, Michael, for picking on you today. But if the student does take the test in December, and you have verification of the score, let's say the student scores a 30, and if the student does not want to take the test in the spring, that's fine. They don't have to, as long as there's an ACT score and record. All right. Okay, so let me remind all of you about this, especially those of you that are new. I'm gonna highlight it right here. EBR will and that should be, I'm sorry, let me go ahead and retype this. EBR will pay for a senior with an ACT score to take either work keys or to retake the ACT test. If you give that student both, and when I mean that student, I mean that senior, if you give that senior both, your school will pay for the ACT test, which is around $36.50. Alright, so just keep in mind that if you give a senior that has an ACT score the work keys, and you also give them the ACT test, we will pay for the work keys, your school will pay for the ACT test. Alright, any questions on that? Especially those of you that are new. Sandy, you understand this? April? Okay, alright. Because some of you had quite a big bill last year. You had at least a couple $1,000 you had to pay. Alright. Okay, so let's talk about that SDU file. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to, let's see, I'm going to go to testadmin.act.org, and all of you should have already been on here. So let me go ahead and sign in. Okay, so when you sign into PA Next. So this is PA Next right here. Make sure at the top you have ACT Spring 2022. We gave you access, test coordinators, not backups, test coordinators. We gave you access, I think the end of last week or beginning of this week, I can't remember. If you're a backup, your test coordinator can give you access as a room supervisor. I don't think they'll be able to give you access as a test coordinator, but you can get access as a room supervisor, so you can have access to PA Next. All right, so just make sure you see this. Okay, now let's go right here where it says Louisiana State Testing webpage. We're going to go there, and I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to go to ACT test here. All right, and then all right, so here's the schedule events right here. You can click on that, but I want to scroll a little bit further down where it has step 2, configuration. So go to step 2 where it says configuration. These are the resources you're going to use for that SDU file. So if I open up the first one, which says student data upload file requirements and loading instructions, go ahead and open that, and then this is what you see. So it's 4 pages. So you have the overview, you have information on how to add and update students into PA Next. There's a training tutorial. So create your file, import your file, and part C is update or correct your file. And then there's an appendix there. So we'll have a training on that with some of you, not all of you, but with some of you that's never done this before. So that's the first thing I would need for you to look at. Then the second thing is this, where it says student data upload requirements and loading instructions fixed with format. Now here's why this is important. So I'm going to open this up. It will tell you which records are required. So the organization code, so you need to know your ACT high school code. The student's last name needs to be put in column C. The student's first name needs to be put in column D. The grade level, either 11 or 12. Do not put a 10th grade student on here. Only 11th grade students or 12th grade. The student's date of birth, the LACID, the state student ID, the LACID, and the state code, which and we're going to look at in a little while, that's column J, and then delivery format, column K. So let's go to column J and K. So scroll down, and let's see, where's that table? So here's the table you're going to use right here. So for clarification, I think it's this table. Let me just make sure. Oh, here, I think it's this table. So let's go to this table here. All right. So column. So they tell you how to enter the information, like date of birth. You got to say month, month, day, and then the 4-digit year. Okay. Test code. This is ACT, so you're going to say MC. So in that column, in column J for test code, you're going to do MC. Don't put ACT, you put MC, because MC is multiple choice. Don't put MW either, because MW is ACT with writing. We don't do that. So you do MC. Then the delivery format, if you're doing accommodations and you're doing paper with some of your accommodations, you're going to enter P. If it's standard time students, you have to enter O for online. All right, so any questions on that? P for paper, O for online. All right, so that's what I wanted you to be aware of, this delivery format. All right, now, where do you go to get that spreadsheet? Right here. So here's the student data upload header template. So click on that. It's going to download to the bottom, and then this is it. So these are the required ones right here. High school code, the student's last name, the student's first name, the grade level, the date of birth, the SID. all of you are going to say MC. Every one of you will say MC here for multiple choice. Now, this may be different depending on the student. If the student is standard time, what should they enter? What should you put here if the student is a standard time student? Anyone? Thank you. If you have an accommodation student taking it online, what are you going to enter? If you have an accommodation student taking it online, what are you going to enter? No, okay, listen to my question, okay, just listen to my question. If you have if you have an accommodation student taking the test online, what are you going to enter in the delivery format? Yeah, and Mary, thank you as well. Mary said O. If you have an accommodation student taking it paper-based, what are you going to enter in delivery format? P, thank you. Okay, so just make sure you put all this information correct. Okay. All right, and then Michael says that the import is now available. So Michael, you're saying that you uploaded yours already? Michael. Hello. All right. So he says import is now available. I'm not sure what he means by that. All of you already have the import. Whether or not you can do this yet, I don't know. So that's what I'm trying to see if that's what he's referring to. Okay. So and then you're gonna save this as a CSV. It must be saved as a CSV and then uploaded. And so here's where you're gonna go to do this. So you're gonna go to and we'll talk more about this later. But let me go to alright, so let me pick a school. I'm gonna go ahead and pick Bel Air. Alright, so I'm in Bel Air. So you're gonna go to setup and you go see where it says import export. You're gonna go there. You go to import export and then you're gonna go right here where it says start. You're gonna go to start, you're gonna do all tasks, and then right here, this is where it says that drop down type, you're gonna do student registration import. Student registration import, and then you're gonna click on choose a file, pick a file. It's got to be a CSV file, and then you click on process. Make sure you put another email address here, it's not just your EBR, but maybe your backup's email address, so that way it'll be sent to that person as well. All right, but we'll talk more about this at a later time. I just wanted you to remind all of you what's coming up. All right, any questions at this point? Okay. Let's see. Did all of you sign in? Let's see who signed in real quick before we go on. So these are the persons who signed in. Anyone not signed in yet? Okay, so before I go on, do y'all have any other questions? Now's the time to ask. Okay, alright, let's go back to this page. Okay, so next meeting's will be Thursday, November 18th, and that's when I'm going to actually do an upload, SD upload, just to show you what it's going to look like. And I'll have maybe one of you not upload all of your students. So maybe Michael's going to upload his anyway. So Mary, if you can give me about 3 students' names, seniors that have an ACT score that you're going to retest, if you can give me those names so I can show them on the 18th how to upload that SDU file. I'd appreciate it. And I'm still working on putting all those tasks in a ACT online paper Canvas course. It's not created yet. It's as all of you yourselves, you get inundated by all these requests, all these meetings, all these things you have to do for every person in the district. Same thing here. I just don't have time to create this course, but I've got to. Okay. Any questions on any of this that we talked about? I'll send you this today as soon as I can with the recording. Anything? All right. So, a couple of things I need for you to continue working on. You have to continue working on collecting and uploading accommodations into TAA. Don't wait. I had one person, or maybe two people, that indicated they haven't done anything with it. That's not a good idea. You must be collecting and uploading documentation to TAA at this time. Alright, so that's one thing I need to be working on. Some of you indicated you still had not done task 4. You must do your dates. And then at the next meeting, we'll continue talking about the enroll request. So if you have a student, a junior, let's say, that after the state uploads, this is after the state uploads, and we'll talk about this in January. After the state uploads the SAU file, if you have a junior coming from another school in the state, you're going to do an enroll request. And so what happens there is ACT will move the student from the other school and put the student at your school in PANAX. All right. Anything y'all need to talk about? Yeah, so I asked about that, and they said it's going to be in January. And it's always late, and then you get a second one, if you recall, like 2 weeks before the test. And what's the point? It makes no sense. Well, for and by the way, those of you that know, the match no match list is this. ACT will send the they send us, and then we send it to you, a match no match list, which means this: they take all the seniors, not juniors, all the seniors at your school, and they indicate which ones have an ACT score and which ones don't have an ACT score. So those that don't have an ACT score, Everett, I would hope that even before that match no match list, that you identify those students without an ACT score at your school that need accommodations, and start collecting that documentation and uploading to TAA. Did that help clarify your question? Yes. Okay. So you went to Success, and you you looked at the students at your school. You're saying, because you can't look at students at other schools. So you looked at the students at your school, and there's a student, a senior, that doesn't have an ACT score in Success, but you're saying they have an ACT score? Oh, yes. Yeah. That's correct. So Everett, I'm glad you brought it up, Ms. Veal. Everett, the students that you see at your school are the students that put your school as a high school code. So the student could have taken the test at another school. Did the student transfer from another school, or they've been at your school the whole 4 years? Yeah. So I asked ACT about that, and I said, can we transfer the student from the other school to the new school? And it said the only way that can happen is if the student contacts ACT. So the student would have to contact ACT. You will not be able to request that yourself, because I did ask that question. So at this point, you don't have access to that. It's only those students that put your school code on their on the ACT test when they took it. Well, that's a good question. Thank you. All right. So every the rest of you. So it is. Don't wait until that no match list to start worrying about accommodations for your seniors without an ACT score. You need to do that now. So if you're not sure about if a student has an ACT score or not, ask the student. Sometimes they're truthful. Ask the student, did you take the ACT test? If you can't find it in Success. Now, it's another thing. If you don't have, and let me remind you before we end, because every minute for me counts and every minute for you counts. Let me go to success.act.org. So when you go to success.act.org, I think that's the password. All right, this is what you're going to see. You're probably not going to see all of this, but you should have TAA right here. You should have Pearson Access, and you should have ACT test scores and reports. If you're a test coordinator and you don't have ACT test scores and reports, you need to let me know, because this is where I'm hoping no student shows up. This is where you can go to, and I'm doing ACT all data. You could do the contract, or you can do all data. Always do all data. Everett, are you doing all data and not just state contract, right? Okay, because all data includes the national testing. And then you can look at student scores. There's a summary there, and so forth. So if you're on here and you don't have access to this, and you're a test coordinator, you need to send me an email so I can give you access, because this is where, when the student takes ACT and puts your school code, this is where the data is going to populate. Everett, you had a question? Okay. Anyone else? All right. Send me an email if you don't have access to this. Let's see. Mary Wells. Let's see. Well, first of all, Peggy, are you going to send us the 8 points you just sent with? Oh yes, Peggy. I'll send you that Word document. Yeah, I'm assuming that's what you meant. Don't forget, we can upload from Success scores for 21-22. Yes, and did they come from another school? Would it be their school transcript if they did use the school code? I don't know what you mean, Mary. I wish you had a mic. Does anyone understand what Mary's, those of you with a mic, if you look at chat, Mary says, would it be on their school transcript if they came from another school? Well, I think so, because that's what Everett is saying. Everett. So the student that you referred to where you found out he did have an ACT score, was that on his transcript? Okay. All right. Thank you. Is it? Yes, Maria, it is in TA8 where you upload accommodations. That's task 1 I think 2 or 3. You have to go to TAA to upload accommodations. Everyone knows that, right? Okay, you must go to TAA to upload accommodations. And I think I had shown you that the last time we met. So I can get to it real quick. Oh, let's see. Let me go back to test admin. We'll go back to test admin. And you can do it from success, or you can do it from test admin. When you go to test admin, you're going to go here. Okay, there's your user guide right here. You can go here, test accessibility and accommodations. And it actually takes you back to success. So you have to go to success to do it. So you click on test admin and accommodations. And real quick, come on, let's see. It's slow, it's still turning. Okay, so then you're not going to have all these schools. I'll just pick one. I'm getting all kinds of schools that's not even in our district. Let me go to Bel Air. Oh, that's Belfair. Bel Air. And then I'm going to scroll down, continue. And these at Bel Air, let me see if Karen already uploaded something. So let me go to submitted date. No, she hasn't. So Karen hadn't uploaded anything. But you're going to go down here. You're going to do new request right here. So you go to new request. You're going to type in all this information, save and continue. And I can't remember how many pages there are. It's like, what, 6 or 7 pages you have to go through? Do y'all remember? Gail, you had a question? Miss White, you had a question? Okay. Mary Wells says there are 7 pages. 7 pages that you have to go through. Alright, but that's where you go, Maria. Karen, did you have a question about, I made a comment that you hadn't done anything with TAA yet, and I think you're going to say something. Probably you're going to admonish me for that. Okay, alright. Okay, alright. So, you all know what you need to be working on. Please don't wait until the last minute. It's going to be very difficult for you. So, do chunks at a time with accommodations. Alright, if you don't have any other questions, I will end it, and then I'll send you the recording as soon as I can, and then the Word document that we used here. Don't forget, though, on the, let me find where it was, on the 17th, November 17th, at 10 a.m., there's a Q&A for accommodations and supports. So especially if this is new to you, you need to click on this link and register for it. Alright? Okay. So I will end it if you don't have any other questions, and I appreciate you being on here. Make sure you signed in, because you now have to send that out. Alright, make sure you signed in. Okay. Alright guys, have a great day. Thank you. Bye. Alright, you're welcome. Bye.